So after the IDF discovery of 6 hostages who'd been killed in a tunnel in Gaza, Hamas released a video of Idan Yerushalmi speaking to the camera. It was a cold display of cruelty to Idan's loved ones, who were only beginning to process her tragic and needless death. In the video, which is undated, Idan tells her family how much she misses them and lambasts Netanyahu for the relentless bombing campaign and for failing to free the hostages. The New York Times rightly cited human rights groups in condemning Hamas's production of the hostage video, writing, quote, "Rights groups and international law experts say that a hostage video is, by definition, made under duress, and that the statements in it are usually coerced. Israeli officials have called the video a form of, quote, psychological warfare, and experts say their production can constitute a war crime," unquote. I agree. Now let's take that moral clarity and apply some moral consistency. Earlier this year, former Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg produced a documentary that was screened at the White House and on Capitol Hill.
Last year, Hamas committed horrific acts of sexual violence. Sheryl, I thank you for all your work to bring to light the horrors of this issue and for your film about what happened on October 7th.
The way that Sandberg proved her case, shockingly, was significantly through the use of coerced interrogation videos.
شو اسمك الرباعي؟
أحمد مازن أحمد أبو فهد.
لأي منظمة أنت تابع؟
حماس.
طبعا نخبة.
دخلنا أول دار بعدين دار كانت المرة.
طلعوا منه مرة.
وإحنا راجعين ورا كانوا مطلعين من جوا بنت عمرها يمكن 16 سنة أو 15 سنة.
والثاني برضه كمان لابس فستان.
كانت لابسة النورات.
The documentary, of course, won praise in the pages of the New York Times and is, to this day, sitting on the White House website. The White House website now says, quote, "Preventing and responding to conflict-related sexual violence is a top priority for President Biden and Vice President Harris. Since October 7th, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and our entire administration have consistently condemned Hamas' horrific sexual violence. On June 17th, the Vice President hosted an event at the White House, which included a panel discussion and remarks by advocates and survivors of CRSV from around the world, and a partial screening of Sheryl Sandberg's documentary, Screams Before Silence, on Hamas's sexual violence on October 7th. Now, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, and Physicians for Human Rights Israel all rejected the use of hostage interrogation videos in the months after October 7th. And most news outlets chose to reject their use as well, citing the likelihood the confessions were extracted by torture. Sheryl Sandberg, the White House, and Hamas have all gone a different direction. The innocent people caught in the middle deserve so much better. And Emily, it was so infuriating to me to see Hamas post those photos of the hostages after they were killed and post the video as well. And then it reminded me that the New York Times, the White House, and others, as CNN has had Sandberg on to talk about this documentary, has said absolutely nothing about the fact that she so prominently relied on these coerced interrogation videos. And coerce is doing a lot of work there in euphemistically describing what B'Tselem, the Israeli human rights organization, calls a hell on earth. Like their recent report on Israeli detention centers is called Welcome to Hell. And it describes the systematic torture and sexual violence that is doled out to Palestinian detainees to then, while they're still in custody, to use interrogations of them. And also, by the way, the press has tried to follow up on a lot of these quote-unquote confessions that were produced by these IDF videos, and even the ones that have extraordinary amounts of detail. They have never been able to find any remote substantiation. If the stories told by those men in those coerced confession videos were true, you would think you'd be able to find a victim that somewhat matches the descriptions, because the descriptions are so clear and precise, and nothing. And so that's why human rights groups and the media in general don't rely on these. And it's why Hamas should never have posted that video. And it's why the White House should be deeply ashamed of itself, from my perspective, of playing those videos.
Of having played the Sandberg videos. Yeah, it's I struggle with this a lot. because on the one hand, I mean, maybe it's okay to just not have a strong opinion on this because I'm not sure that I do. And it's very...
You're forgiven for that.
Thank you. But no, I mean, the reason I say that is I almost feel like, I'm curious what you think about this. The Hamas videos and the confession videos, the alleged confession videos are apples and oranges, if that makes sense, that like what Hamas did with this is so different than, even if like, totally, as I do, accept the argument that those may well have been coerced out of torture. I still feel like Hamas's publishing of the hostage videos before they killed these people that they had taken hostage, it just seems to me like they're different things. But I don't know. I'm curious what you think about that.
Maybe not, because we don't know without seeing evidence and without a trial whether the Palestinians in those videos had anything to do with Hamas or PIJ. They might,
right?
But they also might not.
They may well have done all of those things.
Might have just been cab drivers.
Because one thing we know is that there were absolutely inexcusable and reprehensible, disgusting acts of violence on October 7th, and maybe those guys were a part of that. But
that's what's
right.
so crazy. There was horrific violence on October 7th that
is on camera.
Yeah, innocent civilians were slaughtered.
Yeah.
The need to ratchet it up to something different is something that I never quite understood. It's like, it's horrible.
And there's always something to, upholding these standards of decency and civilization and morality that are then undermined consistently by countries in the West. Or the quote that I've always gone back to since October 7th and has nothing to do with it is that Ollie North quote in his memoir, where he talks about, and actually the Israelis are involved in it, where he talks about how, the worst thing for him was that the U.S. was doing exactly what it was telling other countries not to do and was saying that it wasn't doing.
Right, and now Israel's caught in this like public debate with defending the use of sexual violence by IDF soldiers against Palestinians in prisons.
Yes, that absolutely.
It's an incredible turnaround.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely agree on that part.
No Sheryl Sandberg documentary about that yet.
Not yet, but just a very, I know that I said I don't have a super strong opinion on this, but I think this is a really provocative and worthwhile point, and I'm glad that you caught it so we could talk about it. Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.